All right, before we jump into the episode, we want to talk about an exciting new sponsor, Holy Chutzpah.
If it's not already obvious to you that protecting Jews and defending Eretz Yisrael isn't a massive schus and a chiyuv in the kingdom of the Torah Kedosha, then stop watching. This video is not for you. Keep scrolling. Oh, you're still here. Then why would you, of all people, be donating money and funding yeshivos that actively boycott the IDF and even ban chayalim like me from learning there? You seem shocked. I'll explain.
If people like me choose to be regarding the midst of serving in IDF, we get dishonorably discharged from the yeshiva.
Yes, kicked out of yeshiva. That's a simple truth for many well-branded yeshivos, even if they claim to daven and barbecue for the chayalim. Feeling bad? Feeling mad? I would too. It's true that learning Torah and Achdus for all of Am Yisrael are really important mitzvahs. But that doesn't mean you should be fooled into funding campaigns that actively boycott the IDF. Do your homework. Don't get scammed. Don't betray your own values, and don't betray your own people.
Holy chutzpah, I didn't know this is a thing.
Yeah, it's a really amazing campaign. It's educational. They're trying to educate people on what yeshiva to donate to and what yeshiva not to donate to.
Turns out
basically.
some people unknowingly donate to yeshivas that don't support the IDF. Maybe some of them even boycott the IDF and also prevent students from drafting and doing this, the most important mitzvah, which is to protect the people of Israel and the land of Israel.
Yeah. So guys, go to holy-chutzpah.com, HOLY-CHUTZPAH.com, and you can read up and educate yourself because, you know, you don't want to be donating and then discover that you're basically BDSing Israel by donating to a yeshiva that bans its students from drafting to the IDF and that boycotts the IDF.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do I go then?
Holy-chutzpah.com.
They have social media, I think.
They have social media. They have Instagram. They have Twitter. They have LinkedIn. They have Facebook. So you can go there. Excuse me. go to their website. Read up.
Educate yourself. Do the right thing.
And as they say, don't be a sucker. Do your homework. Go to holychutzpah.com. This is Eitan Weinstein.
And I'm Naor Menninger. And you're listening to Two Nice Jewish Boys.
It's been 3 weeks since Israel resumed its ground operations in Gaza, but the mission still feels undefined. 59 hostages remain in Hamas captivity, and while the IDF maneuvers cautiously on the ground, the sense that we're holding back our full strength lingers. At the same time, Trump is warning of an imminent strike on Iran, raising the specter of regional escalation. Domestically, chaos reigns as well. The government is in crisis over allegations that senior Netanyahu aides advanced Qatari interests. The prime minister's attempt to fire Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar has been blocked by the Supreme Court, an unprecedented move that could trigger a constitutional shutdown. And just yesterday, a leaked recording of the Shin Bet's head of the Jewish department revealed him boasting about arresting settlers without any evidence. In a moment where everything feels fragile, national unity, legal order, deterrence, we're left asking, where is this all headed? To help us think through these turbulent times, we're joined by Dr. Ronen Shoval, a political philosopher, public intellectual, and longtime activist in Israel's ideological landscape. He's the dean of the Tikva Fund and founder of the Al-Gaman Institute for Conservative Thought. He co-founded the influential Im Tirtzu movement, has taught at Princeton University, and is the author of Holiness and Society, a groundbreaking new book exploring the political theology of the Bible and its relevance to modern politics. Today, we turn to him to unpack the crisis, no pressure, and the philosophy behind it, and what might come next. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you're a settler. So maybe you're the quote unquote scum that the head of Jewish department in Shin Bet is referring to.
I think all of us are settlers, so it's fine. I don't take it personally.
Uh-huh. So we're
That's
all,
exactly what a settler would say.
yeah, we're all settlers.
Of course, we are fulfilling the vision of the Jewish people of 2,000 years to come back to our land.
And settle it.
Of course, that's what we are doing. And by the way, you just need to listen to the Arabs. They're saying basically they're saying the truth. They're not fighting on 67. They're fighting on 48.
Yeah.
So we better listen to them and understand that there is no difference between people who live in Tel Aviv and people who live in Jerusalem or in other places in Israel.
But after October 7th, there was this sense that we were past this conversation. This almost feels like a conversation of 2 years ago that we thought we had solved because, you saw people like Avida Becher, who's the father of wife and children were murdered on October 7th. And his daughter actually remains alive, right?
Yeah, his son and wife.
His son and wife. And he was a hardcore leftist, and he said that
and he also I think lost a leg or something.
He also lost a leg, and he famously said, thank God it happened here, which is shocking. He said if it would have happened in the settlements, I would have said, it's those settlers. And there was this sense that the whole settlement thing, where people look at the settlers and say they're the problem, is past us. But it feels like we're back to square one. Do you feel like there was any progress?
Well, I do feel it's behind us. I feel most of Israelis have wake up and smell the coffee. Unfortunately, some of our friends in America are still caught in this conspiracy framework of looking at the Middle East through the lens of settlers and two-state solution. And we all here in Israel are at the point that we understand the reality and we are trying to think on new kind of solution to the situations and not trying to imagine a solution that would only be very, very dangerous for the existence of the Jewish people.
But this is, this isn't an American. This is the head of the Jewish department in the Shin Bet. So
no, but okay. Listen, we have a problem. Okay, we have in Israel a huge problem of the deep state. Let's call it a deep state, and it's using a political power by the left against right wing, and sometimes we have in the extreme right wing, in the settlers, are some people who are behaving against the law, and the phenomena which are completely unacceptable. And I think this is our duty as a nation who wants to run under the law and preserve the law, to take the necessary needs in order to end this anarchy over there. And sometimes you have it, and let's not ignore it. I think what Shin Bet just said this week, the head of the Jewish department, this is an outrageous, because this basically is saying, okay, we don't need evidence, we don't need anything, just arrest them. And I think this is not, if we want to run under the law should apply both on the Shin Bet and both on extreme anarchist people, whether they're in the right, whether on the left, I don't care. The law should be blind to people. And unfortunately, what we're seeing, and this is why it's a deep state, is that the law is not applied in that manner. And I think this is the problem that we are seeing right now. Okay, so but basically what I'm saying is we all need to live under the law, no anarchy. It's implied on right, it's implied on the left, and it's implied on the Shin Bet itself. And the moment we see phenomena of people taking the law to their hands, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But to play the devil's advocate here, our law doesn't apply to the Arabs of Judea and Samaria who are not citizens of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it mean for them, in your opinion, as someone who lives in Judea and Samaria? How do you see the future for them?
Well, the law, they are living under the law of the Palestinian Authority. That's clear. They have a parliament in Ramallah. They have a government in Ramallah. So, and they have decided not to make an election, but it's their decision. It's not our decision.
Mm-hmm.
And the only times that the IDF and the Shin Bet is working is in is in times in order to make sure that our lives are safe. Okay, so it's not our life. Our life, when I say ours, and I'm not talking about settlers, I'm talking about Jewish people. Okay, so so I don't think there is a question here. They are living under the laws that they have, and that's fine. And the question is, what are we doing when we are seeing a terror organization trying to, create a terror attack? And that's the moment when the IDF and the Shin Bet is working in order to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the question here?
The question is because there are a lot of Palestinians, Arabs who live outside the main cities in Judea and Samaria, right?
In all
They are
sorts
in
of
this,
pockets.
they're like in this purgatorium, basically.
So when you look at numbers, you have from 100% of the Palestinians, the Arabs who live in the Palestinian Authority, less than 3% are living in Area C, which are under Israeli laws.
Mm-hmm.
So basically,
and there's Area B also.
no, Area B is under Palestinian law.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's no doubt about it. A and B is Palestinian law. C
What is Palestinian law? I mean, we are the sovereign
No, we're
in
not.
B.
No,
No?
no. In B, no. In B, let's return to the
B, we have military control.
only military control, but not civilian control.
Okay, but
What do you mean?
force. But we have the military. The important control is the power of the might of the fist.
No. But for example, if let's take something simple in life. Let's say someone stole from you. Okay, you live in Area B, and someone stole from you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to the police. Which police are you going? The Palestinian Authority police. Okay.
Mhm.
If you are my neighbor and we had a fight, or we had a car accident, okay, you're going to the Palestinian Authority.
Mm-hmm.
It only means that the IDF, and this is, by the way, it's not relevant anymore.
Even if you murder someone.
Even if you murder someone, it's everything which is civilian is under Palestinian law. The only meaning of Area B, and by the way, it's not active anymore, but let's just return to the fact of Oslo process meant that the IDF has the right to run after terrorists in Area B without asking your permission.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we're doing it as well after 2001, I think, where they are referring every area including Area A in that manner. Okay, if we see terrorists inside Hebron in Area A or inside Tulkarem, we will run after him, and we're not going to ask permission from the Palestinian Authority.
Right. So de facto, we are the military sovereign throughout Judea.
Yeah.
Military.
Throughout Judea and Samaria.
Military,
Yeah.
of course, military. Okay, well, would we like to have them a military to take their? Okay, it's that. Okay, so
No.
So what are we talking about?
No, I'm playing the devil's advocate.
No,
here
but I don't
because-
think there is a devil advocate here. The devil advocate here, I can find a better arguments if you want to look for a devil advocate here. But I don't think this is the devil advocate, because obviously, basically, by the way, by the Oslo process itself, we are the sovereign on things that are related to our security. Okay, that was the old logic of Oslo that collapsed 25 years ago. So the question is, are we willing to risk our life, not theoretically, as we saw on October 7th, physically? Are we willing to risk our life for paradigm that failed again and again and again? And the answer that I think most of Israelis have from the right and for the left, as we saw from Mr. Bacher, understanding, no, it's not about the problem. The core of the problem is not territory. And we need to define the problem.
What's the problem?
What's the problem? And then we can find a solution.
So what's the problem in your opinion?
Radical Islam.
Radical Islam.
They are not. So it's not about land. It's about religion. Okay, so let's start from the point. Okay, they called it. Do you remember how they called the October 7th? Tufan al-Aqsa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how did they call the previous war? Again, I only have the Israeli names. They are the Jewish name. I don't know how to pronounce it in English. But again, it was an Al-Aqsa war.
Mm-hmm.
The Al-Aqsa flood was October 7th.
October,
right?
yeah. Tufan is flood. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but
Meaning Al-Aqsa is their name for Jerusalem, basically, or it's just the mosque. And
It's both.
I think it's both. Yeah.
we have, and so it's not about territory. It's not about Judea and Samaria. And they say it. We just need to listen to it. This is what they're saying time after time and time. And you know who says it? It's not only the Hamas is saying it. It's the Palestinian Authority saying it. Look at their map.
But why can't it be both? Why can't it be both about land and about religion? Because in the end, Jerusalem is also a physical place that you need to have full control of, according to them.
No, of course it's related, but I'm just trying to say what is the basic layer here. The basic layer is ideology. Okay, it's not related. We think inside Western terms. And those Western terms are imagining civilians, as you said. They don't have the concept of civilians in Islam. They have the concept, we have a concept of nation. You just need to listen to them. They don't see themselves as Palestinians. Just listen to them. You hear Azmi Bshara. He said it out loud. We are not the Palestinians. Don't call it. We are Arabs. Okay? And the fact that we look at the Middle East map and we see Syria and we see Lebanon and we see Iraq and we see Jordan and Israel, it's all part of the imperial moment that took the map of the Middle East and say, this is one state, this is another state. This was part of Sykes-Picot.
Yeah, made up states. Also Saudi Arabia, by the way.
Made up steps. So, but look at the map, and you can see it very clearly. If you look at the map of Jordan, for example, you see the line. It's like someone drew it. And look at the map in Europe. Tiny changes all the time because it's actually referring something to that was created bottom up. And we see the fact that most of the Middle East order, as we saw in the Arab, they call it the Arab Spring, let's call it in the real term, the Muslim winter, we see what's happening, the collapse of Syria and then the collapse of Jordan and everything that is about to come. It's because the order itself is based on an imaginal order that was created in the 19th century or in the beginning of the 20th century. And if you look at the real, if you understand the reality in the Middle East, it's not about nation state. And therefore, the solution of two states, it's an imaginary solution. It doesn't, and it won't solve anything because this is not the real problem. The real problem is the concept of Islam that can't accept the sovereign nation of a Jewish nation in this area. And let's, if you would like, I can dive into it. So, if you understand, if you read the Muslim thinkers, basically they are splitting the world into two types of lands. Dar al-Islam, the world of Islam, and Dar al-Harb, the world of sword.
Sword.
Yeah.
Harb is war.
Harb, kherev.
Kherev. Yeah, sword. Okay.
Sword. And peace will come when all Dar al-Harab, all the world of sword, the world of war, will become Dar al-Islam, when all the world will be Muslim. This is how they understand it. And they see this process as process that has one direction towards salvation.
But that's not radical Islam. That's Islam.
Right.
Okay.
In the middle of this process, there is one place in the middle of the empire that went back, that became a reverse. A place that used to be Dar al-Islam and became again Dar al-Harb. And this is Israel.
Oh, but there are other, Spain.
Yeah, but this is, Spain is Spain in the west, and in the east you have also in the area of India. Yeah. But this is the heart of the civilization. We are in the heart of the civilization. So this is why you can hear, for example, Erdogan talking about Jerusalem. You can hear all the, and because we are in the center of the Muslim civilization, and we took a land that was supposed to be Dar al-Islam, and it went back and became again Dar el-Kharab. And the fact that it went back to be the war of sword is a theological problem. So this is why basically they can't accept the Jewish state, because Jewish state is against the basic idea of Muslim salvation. Okay? So let's just understand the facts as they are. Listen to what they are saying. We need to listen to their perspective. This is what the Hamas is saying again and again. This is what Erdogan is saying. This is what now we have a huge lack because inside Islam there are basically two types of understanding how to get to this salvation. One of them is the argument, who should rule the world, whether it's the Shia or the Sunnah. So they tend to kill each other on this question, okay, as we see now in Syria, for example, okay. And the other question is, what is the best method towards Dar el-Kharab? One method is, let's think about, for example, the difference between Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Both of them are Sunnah. But Al-Qaeda said we need to export the revolution to other nations. ISIS said, no, first of all, we have to be pure in ourselves and create the ISIS, the Muslim state. So the question is, what we need to achieve first? Should we conquer all the world and then make it pure? Or we should be pure at the beginning and only then expand to the world? So we have Muslims in Shia versus Sunnah. And inside all of them, we have just two types of Sunnah, that one of them, Al-Qaeda, want to export it. And on the other hand, we have Shia, ISIS, who wanted to create, first of all, a pure state.
And they also kind of import, as opposed to export, meaning you see a lot of the UK
and you mentioned something
Westerners.
You mentioned something very interesting about Spain. The symbol of Spain was Cordoba. Cordoba was the most important place that the Muslim conquered in Spain. Now, if you're going now to 9/11, if you're going right now to the Twin Tower, to the memorial place, and I think on the 4th floor of the new tower, they have built a new mosque in order to have peace. What's the name of this mosque?
Cordova.
This is how Americans don't understand reality. Okay. Basically, Muslims have created a new mosque and called it Cordoba. But if you don't understand the perspective of Islam, you don't understand why they decided to call it Cordoba. But this is what we need to understand.
Because it symbolizes their strongest victory in the West.
Yeah.
Their stronghold in the West.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
insane.
But this is where we live. We live in a place that think inside Western terms.
Yeah.
And therefore, we continue to fail when we are encounter Muslim civilizations.
It's not totally Western, because there's something juvenile and progressive about it. Because, I mean, the West used to battle Islam, right? I mean, the Crusades and Cordova, right, it was in Islamic hands, and then, if I'm not mistaken, it was exchanged hands a couple of times. There were several battles. But, I mean, the West used to battle Islam, and it used to see Islam as the Moors as a major threat to the West. And, I mean, there was this perspective. So what went wrong? Like, where did we lose sight of?
So what happened is, after the Ottoman Empire tried to conquer Vienna a couple of times, and they failed. And
Luckily, otherwise we'd had much worse cakes.
Yeah.
and schnitzel.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at that point, because of cultural events which are mainly related to the uprise of technology in the West, the balance of power became very, very clear. Okay, and the Muslims expanded very, very fast and conquered a lot of land. They were unable to conquer Europe. And at that time, the gap between the West and the Muslim world became clear. It took a while, but the Muslim failed in their attempt to expand more. And we had in the West our own problems. Starting to think about, we have the rise of democracy, and therefore later on the rise of types of totalitarian regimes, communism, imperialism, and liberalism, whatever. We have all those fascism, all those things happen inside the Western civilization, and the Muslim didn't challenge the West, and the West had plenty of time to fight inside. What happened right now, I think, in history is something very interesting. Think about it like this. Every generation, we are advancing in two terms, in two aspects: technology and moral. Okay, we're trying to be better human beings, and we're trying to have a better technology. But every time we are in our moral perspective, it's much harder to get advanced. Okay, because it's taking. Hannah Arendt once said, "Every generation there is a new barbarian coming." And this is the kids who have no, they have no moral background, and we are trying to give them some tools in order to be a better human beings. And what happened here is that because of the gap between the two, think about it, in the West, we have developed weapons and at the same time laws how to use this weapon. We are trying to be very, accurate. Is it okay to use this weapon here? Is it okay to use this weapon there? Whatever. When the Muslim world conquered the world, they definitely had sword, right? But today, ISIS, even though their moral is basically on the 12th century, they have modernized weapons. Mm-hmm. They're not when they are making their kills, they are taking pictures and using M16. So the balance here has broken, because suddenly we have a modern weapon with a very, very old moral set of rules.
But that's because for the last centuries, they refused to adapt and to adopt the Western moral systems.
It's more than that. From their perspective,
they could adopt it. They could go with the flow. They chose not to.
They chose not to. But
right.
It's a
not everyone. Some did go with the flow, as we can see. Some countries became modernized and with more Western values.
Okay, but this is exactly the question. What are the values that run society? And the basic concept of Islam is the gate of interpretation were closed in the 12th century. This is that's how they understand the law. By the way, in the Jewish tradition, the gate of I wouldn't be so radical, but the gate of interpretation were closed in Shulchan Aruch in the 16th century. So, but in Islam, it's harder than in Judaism. Okay, you really can't have a new interpretation. So that's the problem. We have a 12th century base of moral understanding of reality and modern weapons.
So what can we deduce from that about our situation in Gaza then? How can we extrapolate those notions in practical terms? What should we do now?
Okay.
And what could we do different?
Okay. So long-term solutions are, first, let's understand the problem, which is radical Islam or Islam, and then find the solution. And the solution will become when Islam will grown up, which means Islam is a very young religion. And think about where, Christian were when they were 1,000 years old. They also tried to conquer the world. Okay, so radicalization is part of a phenomena of young religion, and it will take couple of hundreds of years till Islam will grow up and will find a solution for itself from inside.
That's very optimistic.
I am optimistic. I heard your cynical, but I think that the only way that we can win long term this solution is, if we have 1.3 billion Muslims around the world, is making sure that they have the tools to change themselves and bring more, I would call, liberal values to their interpretation of reality. And I think we can see some of those phenomena already happening in the world.
So to impose your culture upon them.
Not to impose. Exactly. If we would try to impose, we will fail.
Why? Islam was imposed on them.
Yeah, but I'm
not saying we should impose. I'm just saying that.
No, I am against impose. I think impose would only, at this situation, this reality, would create more problems. Our only hope is to I lost the word. Lefatot.
Seduce.
Tempt.
To create a temptation towards our values.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which would most likely move them away. I mean, there's two scenarios in which that would happen. Either you shift Islam in a way that reforms itself and, I don't know, adopts new values, or those people decide to abandon Islam.
No, I want it to be from. I think the only long-term solution is if it will be authentic from the Islam.
But why?
Okay.
Isn't there something? I mean, the question is if there's something rotten at the core of Islam, and then the question is, should we even change it?
I think there is something raw in the core, in their perspective of reality, and I hope that we can. For example, let's take Saudi Arabia. Okay, I think it's less than a decade that they allow women to drive. So basically, if in their perspective they don't see women as full human beings that deserves rights, and each man can have 4 wives and so on, why do we expect that they will see us, our enemies, as full human beings? If they don't see the wives that live with them in the same home as full human beings, what is the chance that they will see us as full human beings? I don't think there is any chance. So I think that the best thing that we can do in order to promote peace in the Middle East is to make sure that women have rights in the Muslim countries around us.
In Gaza, women could drive, no?
But how do you make sure?
Well, but it's not about
rights?
driving. Driving is about
It's a symptom.
I'm just trying to show you how deep is the cultural.
Yeah, we don't want. In the end, we don't want the women to drive. Come on.
Oh my god, this is gonna be cut from the episode.
Okay, go ahead.
No, what I'm saying, like, aren't you falling to the same patterns of you? Because you're also stuck in your Western psyche, in your Western paradigms.
No, I'm listening carefully to what they are saying and trying to.
Because the whole concept that we should show them the light, expose them gradually, and then they will see that our sets of values are superior or better to humanity, and they gradually will change and adapt. That whole concept is a bit a Western concept.
Yeah, okay. If this is what you meant, I definitely agree with it. Okay, I have no problem to say. I think that we have a moral advantage on them, and I hope that they will adapt our moral perspective on reality through Islam culture, through Islam interpretation, whatever. I'm not asking them to convert and become Jewish. I'm not asking them to convert and become Christian. I'm just trying to. I hope that one day we will have a type of Islam which is modernized. And actually, I think that we are some parts of Islam that are behaving in that way already. Okay, so I don't think what I'm talking about is lunatic. We can see couple of important initiatives of people inside Islam who are trying to change Islam from inside. And for example, Harav Uri Sherki is speaking with some groups of Muslims around Muslim world and trying to have this discussion in this conversation. And we can see some of those events happening around us. And I think we have something to hope for.
But in the short term?
Listen, if you want to have peace now, I can have peace tomorrow. I have a solution for peace tomorrow. You want to have peace tomorrow?
Give it to
Yes.
us. Give it to us.
Convert to Islam.
Me and
Yeah.
no,
All of us. All of us. If we will convert to Islam,
Yeah.
there will be no more war.
Yeah, I don't think my wife would be.
But then you have to ask yourself a very serious question. Are you converting to Shia or Sunni? I don't know.
yeah,
Because then it might be a war. But let's assume we overcome it. But
we got to coordinate, so
But
we don't have to.
It was
kill
more
each
fun
other.
in parties.
the
Shia.
Shia, when they hit themselves and you have the blood is...
If you're into that.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that you're laughing. The reason that you're laughing that is because you understood that peace means that I stay who I am and you stay who you are, and we agree with each other. If I have to cancel my entire identity, it doesn't mean peace. But this is the only way that we can have peace tomorrow. If you would cancel your identity. So basically, we are in a situation where we have 4 options. Convert to Islam. Take all the Jews from Eretz Israel and we won't have Jews here. So we won't fight. Take the Arabs and we won't fight. Fight. This is the reality. Okay, we have to accept reality. This is our only 4 options: convert, transfer to or relocation for Jewish people, relocation for Arab people, or continuing to fight. We don't have.
What do you pick?
So I don't think In the 70s, they used to say there is an Arab-Israeli conflict. We don't have a conflict. There is no Israeli-Arab conflict. They want to kill us, and we don't want to die. That's the conflict, okay? So let's compromise. Just have 50% of us will die. This is the. Let's stop lying to ourselves. And I think what October 7th told us is, hey, wake up. This is the reality. Let's stop lying to ourselves. It's not about land. It's not about. It's about the concept, perspective of Islam regarding the Middle East as a whole, and it's not about sovereignty. You asked me at the beginning, is it the law in A and B? Is it like this? That's the wrong details. Let's look at the big picture and stop lying to ourselves.
So if we stop lying to ourselves and we say, okay, and I pretty much agree with the breakdown that, it's us or them. They want us gone. We don't have that many options. There's not really a road there's not a viable path to peace in the near future. Then which one, we don't want to leave. We're not going to leave. So which one of the 3 remaining options?
And we're not going to convert.
And we're not going to convert to Islam. Sorry, I forgot about that one. I would sounded kind of tempting. So we're not going to do either of those. So we can either fight or get them out of here, according to your analysis.
And that also goes for the Arabs of Judea and Samaria, in your opinion. Not only to the Gazan Arabs.
You know that if you look at the polls, the people in the Palestinian or the Arabs in Judea and Samaria are more supporting in October 7th than the Arabs in Gaza.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at the polls.
That's just because the polls in Gaza are totally unreliable.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
okay.
it would
But-
be even.
But they're basically saying it. Okay. They're saying it out loud. It's like, look at the polls. I think it's something like 85% support of October 7th.
Yeah, if there were elections in Judea and Samaria amongst the Arabs, they would Hamas would take power. This is why Abbas is not.
No, but it's also it's also in Abbas party. Yeah, the people who are supporting it. It's not. It's
Bipartisan.
It's bipartisan. Huge support.
Bipartisan support.
And by the way, you can see it again and again in many, many different polls. It's not just one poll. So the answer is yes. The answer is the moment they will have chance, or the moment they will believe they have the smallest chance, they will try to do it again and again and again and again, as they promised. As they promised.
So where does that leave us?
Yeah,
What should we do now?
I think with Gaza, we see it playing out, right? I mean, there's talks around. There's talks around. Trump has kind of said, "Oh, we're looking for ways to get them out of there. We'll relocate them." He released that ridiculous AI video. the response of the Israeli government here is I think
Slumber.
lukewarm, but somehow Gaza seems to me almost solvable. Okay, because it's October 7th happened there. There's a war going on, maybe, but how do you the West Bank to me seems like this huge problem. If we preemptively start a war, if we preemptively start some kind of incentivized relocation, is that the path forward? How do you solve the West Bank, basically? If we can't
So
have
basically,
them.
think about it like this: we did three experiments with Arabs in Israel. The first one is let's give them full rights, and at the beginning they were for many years under military law, but that we had a process of giving them full rights and make them civilians, which this is basically Jaffa.
Mm-hmm. Israeli Arabs.
Israeli Arabs.
Mm-hmm.
But think about it from the beginning. There is no difference between Arab who lives in Jaffa and Arab who live in Gaza. What's the difference?
Yeah,
The same Arabs.
those are Arabs who didn't flee.
Many of them have family. in
Okay,
Gaza.
but they are functional civilians.
Mhm.
This is one experiment we did.
Yeah.
The other experiment we did was Gaza. We left. After disengagement, we left. They could do whatever they want, and we see the outcome. What we have in Judea and Samaria is a mix. We have a mix, and the outcome is exactly a mix. Okay? So what's the model that you want to have with Arabs? You have three types of models. Think about it like this. Okay? Do you want the people in Jenin to be like the people in Gaza? Or do you want the people in Jenin to be like the people of Jaffa? This is...
Well, now you're contradicting yourself
Wait,
a little
wait,
bit.
wait.
Yeah.
No, I'm just...
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying
just-
there's another problem. Right now we have 2 million Arabs in Israel. If we annex the West Bank totally,
No,
we have
first of all, you are jumping into solutions.
okay
and I'm
because I
trying-
asked for a solution.
Yeah, yes, but I'm trying first...
I don't know.
I'm
To your
a philosopher.
question,
I'm a philosopher. I'm trying to
Okay.
think about it as, okay, we did experiment. We have A, B, C. Let's think about what are the outcomes.
Yeah.
Exactly the same Arabs, same cultures. What's the difference between them? The way that Israel treated them. One of them was so,
is there a big difference?
yes. Practically.
I don't know.
Practically.
I don't know.
I think there is a difference.
I don't know. If you ask people who live in the south, in the Negev,
Mhm.
they beg to differ.
Might be. I think there is a big difference still.
And people let's not forget May 21, and people live in law, they have shooting every day. It's not that black and white.
It's not that I agree with you. They were at the list the year, I think something like 100 terror attack from Arab Israelis. I think it's a real problem. I'm not trying to ignore it, but I'm looking at the bigger picture. Most of them are functional civilians, okay? Which I cannot say on other. Like they pay taxes, they are part of the police, they are part of the legal system, they are part of the media, they are a big minority inside Israel that most of them are functional civilians, okay? This is how I see it, at least. So now to your question, okay? What can we do about it? I'm not sure that I have easy solutions here. I think sometimes when we are trying to have a solution, we are creating a bigger problem than the solution itself. Okay. For example, when Soviet Union decided to end poverty, they were able to end poverty, but the price was gulag. Okay. When Iran decided to end thieves, okay, they cut hands to people. I think it's worse than than stealing. Okay, so I think that we need to be realistic about what can we achieve here. Okay, and I think that, and if we are looking on Gaza, I hope that we can have a big plan of relocation there. Can we actually do it? I'm not sure.
Relocation makes it sound nice too. I think that should be the branding, because relocation sounds like out of the high tech world. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm doing a relocation.
But
To Palo Alto.
There's a package.
okay, but I think that if the Western world is serious about it and he really wants to solve the solution, to find the solution, the West I think has a very very easy path here. It's only a couple of millions of people spread around many countries. It's nothing. If you put in Ireland, in Spain, in Canada, in Chile, whatever, there are many countries with that you know, it's nothing in terms of immigration if you split it around the world, and if they were serious about solving it. But I think that the fact that they decide not to solve it, it's not only the West but also the other Arab countries,
And
eh,
Palestinian leadership themselves.
is because they see the Palestinian as a tool for a different aim, and the aim is to destroy Israel. Okay, this is the big aim here of both anti-Semitic forces on the Muslim world and anti-Semitic forces on the Western world. They use Palestinian as a tool to attack Israel, and this is why they don't want to solve the problem.
So where
Yeah, but we keep circling back, and I agree with your breakdown. But I you know, we can't not articulate a solution for fear that it'll cause a bigger problem. In the end, we need to try and solve.
Okay, so this is the solution as I see it. Okay, sorry, this is a path towards solution. This is not the solution. The solution won't. The solution would be when Islam will be liberated.
Inshallah.
The path for a short-term solution that will allow us to continue to stay here and survive, and more than that, to flourish, is to have a very, very, very strong IDF with long-time relocation plan, which will continue. And this relocation is not based on us forcing them to leave, but inviting them to live and creating incentive, paying them to live, and finding solutions for that. So, for example, I want to have, let's think about it, that you have a state that needs nurses. Okay, so you can match and find a job opportunity in I don't know, Albania, who needs nurses, and you find
you need butchers. Here you go, Hamas.
No, but I think I hope that we can find. I hope that we can pay countries, and we can pay individuals, and we can find a path where people would like to the individual who wants to have a better life can have it.
Okay.
And I think that if we would spend our money, our security budget on that, it would be the best ROI. ROI, best investment. Okay.
It's not. We're not forcing them, but
No.
I think there's a healthy dose there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Of making life here not so attractive.
Well, I think that
The carrot and a stick.
okay, and I think right now that what listen, I imagine that if you are in the last 2 years living in Gaza, your life, you can imagine a better life. Okay, I think the stick is strong enough.
It's also not a stick that we preemptively
No.
chose to create. It's
No.
a stick that we have to use
Exactly.
because it's a reaction to.
And just what I want to create is a real carrot. Okay, and
Yeah.
we saw at the beginning
So
of the world.
Africa is not a really good carrot. It's,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Sudan or Somaliland or
depends where.
the
Casablanca.
beautiful beaches in Somaliland.
Casablanca.
Casablanca.
But think about it like this, okay? If you can have a nice house in a nice Palestinian neighborhood on the beach on Somalia, with when you have all the infrastructure and everything is built for you, and you can live in peace and practice God and stay a pure Muslim. Or you need to continue to live between IDF, Air Force dropping bombs in Gaza.
Yeah, for me it would be
Okay, and
Simple
by the
choice,
way,
but-
it's for them. You saw the numbers at the beginning of the war. I think something around 100,000 of them left Gaza, and the only reason they stopped it is because Egypt didn't let them to go.
Right.
Obviously, if we had if Egypt in Philadelphia, if Egypt would let them flee, most of them would run away.
But why can't you duplicate that to Judea and Samaria? What's the problem?
No, I'm not against it.
Okay.
But the issue is, and this is this.
But
is
I think the
another-
incentive, let's say, the stick over there is much smaller.
Yeah, so that's
what
the
I'm
question. That's the question: is that are we going to need to wait for an October 7th to happen in Kfar Saba and in Ra'anana
Yes.
in order for that plan to play out in the West Bank,
Of
or are we
course.
going to, or can we not do it preemptively?
Of course, we need to
Wait,
wait.
You might be the main actor, like you live there. You may be the actor in this play.
No, I'm not. That's the different.
Why?
Because it's much easier to slaughter people in Kfar Saba than slaughter us.
Mhm.
We are prepared.
Gush Etzion, you.
We are prepared. We are prepared. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference. Let them come. They have no chance. I'm not joking.
Yeah. I'm hearing you.
This is a huge difference. We are not living in La La Land. We know exactly where we live. We are not imagining that.
You're not driving them to a hospital and stuff like that.
We are not driving them to the hospital. We are not imagining that they are want to be a good neighbor. We understand reality as it is, and we are prepared. And we are, we have dozens of people, and we have ammunition. We have everything we need in order to survive. Okay, people in Kfar Saba don't,
Now,
and in Petah Tikva, and in Rosh Hashanah.
yeah.
So
So why do we need to wait, like Eitan said? Why
What-
do we need to wait for that? Why can't we initiate this time? That's what the people want, I think, overwhelmingly.
That's a separate question.
I think that people are the fact that we need to wait. Okay, in terms of carrot, we don't need to wait. In terms of stick, we do need to wait.
Why?
Because
Why not? You could declare them as an enemy entity, right? They're an enemy.
Because
not start dropping bombs from the air. I'm saying, couldn't we just send in the military, capture Ramallah, capture Hebron, say this is Israel now? I'm sorry, guys. This is
You are a threat to us.
you're a threat to us. Now you can live under military rule, or you can leave.
it's a valid point. But unfortunately, this is not how politics run.
Okay.
We buy our legitimacy to protect our life by paying price with Jewish blood.
And you accept it? I'm not sure if Ronen of 20, 25 years ago would...
I don't accept it. Listen, let's have two types of discussion here. I don't accept it as individual, as human being, whatever. I think it's outrageous. But I'm trying to look at the structure of power of what is realistically can be achieved and what not. And I think that our as I told you at the beginning, the temptation to have a fast solutions might be worse, because I can imagine that if we have if we want to have the kind of support that we need to make this kind of actions, we would become South Africa. Okay, so we are going on a very, very slim road here between becoming a South Africa. And we already see the ICC is hunting Netanyahu. Okay, so we are in a position that just imagine what would happen if Trump would lose. Okay, so we need to always remember that that there is a gap between what need to be achieved and what we can achieve. Okay,
But
I'm not trying. If we're trying to tell that the pink dream here, yeah, I'm with you. But if I'm trying to be realistic regarding what we can achieve and how we should do it, we should be very, very aware to the price that we might pay on that.
So first of all, I mean, I think we'll all agree that the ICC has zero moral authority, but you're talking about more of the pragmatic implications. And I'm saying that's the game we tried to play pre-October 7th. And meaning we tried to play this careful political game where we balanced the global legitimacy and support with our own interests. And we saw where it led. And what I hear you saying is there's no other way. We have to pay the price in Jewish blood. But why not try a different way and say, you know what? Kind of balls out where we just say, fuck it. We saw what one way leads. One way leads to thousands dead and hundreds captured.
In order to do it,
it's not like we have anything to lose. Like, you know what I mean?
I do think that we have something.
No, of course
to lose.
we do, but I'm just saying that the price was so high.
No, okay. Listen, it's as we structure the deal now that we are negotiating the price. Okay, we agree on the deal. The question is the price, and I'm just trying to say let's think about it. And I think that so far that there are some structure in Western civilization that are threatening the existence of the Jewish state. Okay. For example, at the beginning of the war, I don't know if you remember, but we had a crisis, or we were thinking about what will happen if we won't have any more wheat. Okay, it's not only about ammunition. Okay, we are an island state, as we said, even though we're not an island, but we depend completely on other countries for critical supply to Israel. Okay, so there are so many things we can do in order to reduce the risk here, that we have to do them before anything that we can do, because we are in a situation that we are too fragile. We're just too fragile, and let's.
I bring this only because you're a God-fearing person. Yeah, there's a sentence in Hebrew, and I don't know actually where it's from. Maybe you can enlighten me. רבות מחשבות בלב איש ועצת השם היא תקום.
I think it's from Mishlei, but I'm not promised.
So
promise.
in the end, יש גם השם עוזר למי שעוזר לעצמו. The first one is many thoughts in a man's mind, but the will of God is the one that plays out. And the other one is God will help whoever. That's more of like a colloquial saying. God helps whoever helps himself. So I agree that. But we shouldn't just say it's not.
I think that we can do some things in order to prepare it. Okay, I don't think that we can. But I see that there is a huge gap. Okay, between and there is a huge gap between what we can achieve right now and what we potentially can achieve in the future. And I think there are some concrete steps that we can take right now in order to prepare for a future that we can be less independent in order to do it. Okay. If we are not, let's at this moment, Israel doesn't create its own shells for tanks. Okay. And it's something very basically that we used to do.
I think it's going to change now again. Just a few months ago, they reinitiated it.
It's going to change. And now you know the bureaucracy, right? And you can imagine the unions, and you can imagine the process. And okay.
Right. We also stopped creating our own
ammunition, weapons.
No, the gun, the Tavol, right?
So, and this is just on the ammunition side. But it's more than that. You want to do it? Make sure you have fuels in Israel for 5 years. Make sure that you have enough wheat. I'm just saying, don't be in a position that someone. I remember at the beginning of the war, Americans wanted to send ships to Israel, and Spain didn't let them to
pass
to embark in Spain. And in the end, you know where they embarked? In Morocco. Okay, so.
So what I'm hearing is
we are not prepared.
We should instill a Trump-style "Make Israel Great Again" plan, so that we can avoid and hopefully play out some kind of preemptive, and hopefully October 7th West Bank version won't happen before.
Yeah.
Okay. I can get on board with that.
I just want to be realistic about
unless there's one caveat. So maybe those fears are irrational. Maybe maybe
You
it's
might-
all in our heads. Like, will all the countries in the world let us starve? I don't know. Will we?
Or will we find not about let us starve?
Because- no,
I
because
don't,
in the
I don't
end-
want to. I don't want to bank on their goodwill. But like maybe we'll find,
Yeah, we'll
just
find
like
a
we
way.
did in the Independence War, we got guns from here and ammunition from there, and we weren't backed by America.
You might be right.
but it's
what-
not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I remember during COVID, people were arguing about masks or something, and I said, "Listen, you might have a good point, and the masks are for nothing, okay? But let's assume what's the alternative. If I'm wrong, let's play it out, and if you're wrong, let's play it out." So the answer was, if you are wrong, if you're wrong, we're all going to be dead. Okay. If I'm wrong, okay, we're stuck with a mask on our face for 5 months, whatever. I'm just saying we always have to not only to look at one side of the equation, but what is the meaning of my mistake. If I'm wrong right now, okay,
Many people will die.
many people will. How many? Let's say 10,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you're wrong, Israel might collapse. Israel might disappear. Okay, that's what
High risk, high gain.
Okay, I'm just saying.
No, but I think
I'm just trying to say. I'm just trying to look at the alternative cost here and the potential damage here. You might be right, and I might be too cautious.
There are more
weighing
questions.
the risks, weighing the risks. But this goes back to what you said, which is the law of unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Which no one thought that, okay, well, putting on a mask. But, there are a lot of claims, I don't know to back it up with any, but I've heard about the fact that it had serious impact on children
Of
wearing
course.
masks. The idea that like you can't see another person's face is huge in child development. And,
Of
and
course.
just breathing, and there's a lot of costs. And then we found out that the alternative wasn't everybody's dead. It's a bunch of old people that might have lost 6 months.
I agree.
And so
But,
You never know.
we are human beings. Okay.
You never
And
know. And
which
so you
means
should
it's-
rely on morals in the end of the day. And our morals say
No.
that
Okay.
we shouldn't wait out to be slaughtered again. That's in the end what the moral tells us.
No. Okay. So that's exactly where since we don't know, and we need to understand that there is a limit to our ability to know based on our rationalism, based on our cognitive abilities, based of our intuition, based of the tradition, based of the everything. All those sources of knowledge have limits. So we have to be very modest. We have to be very modest because we don't know. I can't contemplate and have the right answer, and I can't go to the synagogues, talk to God, and get the right answer. I have to be modest because I don't have any tools to know what's the right answer. That's where I'm coming from. Okay, so I'm trying to use all the different sources of knowledge, combine them, and get to a conclusion. Now, I hear and agree that we need to structure our relation towards reality via the understanding of morality. But we can't be, and I'm serious about it, we can't be dogmatic about that as well. The moment we are dogmatic about something, it means that there is one value which is above any other values, and then all other values collapse and stand behind this value. And we have to be very, very careful not to do it, even with moral, because we don't know what moral is, as the way that we know that 2 + 2 is 4.
Mhm.
I have one understanding of moral, you have the second one, and he has the third one. And let's say I have the moral authority and the capability to act on behalf of moral, then I would impose on you my set of morals. And this is exactly the discussion that we have to do. What is a moral? How do we know about it, and how to imply it? So I'm even on something that I agree with you. Moral should lead us. Okay, what is moral? How do we get it? How do we achieve it? How do we understand it? Those are the big questions that you are more than welcome to come to to learn philosophy and have this huge discussing about ethics. And it's not a simple answer.
I'm kind of disappointed. I thought you were going to plug your course, but because it was the perfect opportunity to, give an advertisement for
Gaman Institute. Do you have English?
Unfortunately, no.
Just Hebrew for now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, guys, if you speak Hebrew, go to Gaman Institute's website. Highly recommend. Do you have Zoom classes also? It has to be physical.
So we have a lot of online courses at Argaman Institute online. So you can watch dozens of classes that we uploaded, but most of the classes are physically in Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv, and in Herzliya. So we are teaching political philosophy, political economy, international relationship, and all other aspects of and philosophy, of course, and culture. So we have different programs, and each year 120 students from BA to postdoc.
Do you have Arab students?
We do. Not this year, but last year 2 years ago we had a couple of Arab students and
Arab Christians or Muslims.
I think it was Christian, and I think Christian most of them. Yeah, but I think that what we are trying to the tools that we are trying to give are not related to Judaism per se. We're not teaching Judaism. We're teaching how to be a better civilian and giving people tools to understand the reality in a much deeper way than the normal discussion that you can get in universities.
And
your book is available. Let's plug it quickly.
Thank you. My book just published at Routledge, which is one of the best publishing houses in the world. Holiness and Society, which described the political philosophy of Moses and trying to ask the big questions that we just had the discussion about them through the lens of Moses, and where Moses is basically in the first 5 books of the Bible, which by the tradition Moses wrote them, is trying to describe a perfect understanding of society and of a state. And what I'm trying to reveal in this book is how he understood the concept of a Jewish state.
Sort of the first Machiavelli.
Well,
the original, the OG.
Exactly the opposite than the Machiavellism, but yeah.
Yeah, but in the sense that he endeavored to describe the perfect state and society.
Yeah, so I think that what he's creating a type of a nation, of type of a model for a state, which many countries try to fulfill. For example, when we heard about the founding father in America talking about city on a hill. Which hill? What is the city on the hill? Jerusalem, of course. Okay, so they were trying to imagine themselves as the people who are going on the footstep of Moses. And you can see it in the Congress, for example. You have in front of the seat of the chair, you have 22 small sculptures of important people who created laws. All of them looking on the profile, and in the middle you have Moses looking directly on the Congress themselves. And again, if you were crossing the street, the Supreme Court, you see again Moses holding the 10 Commandments, and he's standing above the judges and saying, okay, because he's the person who gave a law to society. He gave us the concept of living. If you think about it, the king has to write the Torah, which means the king is not the source of the law. He have to write the law that he is not the source of the law. So you have a lot of most, and you have so many other concepts. For example, think about it, lo tignov, you shall not steal, okay? So we have assumption here that you have private
property,
okay? And then you have a different concept of, you have so many different concepts that you can just read the Bible and you can see that the way that you understand the society. So you have, for example, self-governance, okay? You have the king should be from within, which means you don't have to have other countries controlling you, and you have a limitation of a country. Countries on a different place. It's not supposed to be imperialist country, and you have many, many, many different aspects of politics which are described in the first 5 books of the Bible, and this is what I'm trying to describe.
Super interesting.
And this book is in English, available in English.
It is available in English, and with God will, it will be published in Yediot Achronot this July.
Amazing.
Nice. Congrats.
Thanks.
And it's on Amazon, Kindle, bookstores. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming on
Fascinating.
in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for
Really,
having me.
really interesting conversation. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye, guys. See you.
Bye.